In the mysterious pages of the book of Revelation, a profound mark from God is unveiled. This mark is more than a symbol, it's a message from the Creator himself. Deception will be more prevalent than ever before toward the end of this world. How would you know if you were being deceived? Join us at Revelation's Sign of God as we explore the sacred scriptures and reveal the mark that bears divine significance.
special, now special, but you have to give me a minute. So, absolutely.
So, in my
I would go through this.
Times and purposefully, as a strategy, take pagan not only places but rituals or ideas, and as they think, subvert them to advance the cause of spreading Christianity. What we don't know is the extent to which they think this through and say, well, at what point is it legitimate to do this, and at what point do we perhaps begin to be taking on other ideas?
The speed with which the early church tobogganed into apostasy will take your breath away.
As millions of pagans hastily joined the church, they were naturally reluctant to dispose of their idol treasures. The Romans and the Greeks were so used to being surrounded by symbols of their deities.
I think that's the point.
They began doing the same thing with Christianity. So many of these new converts just relabeled their idols with Christian names, like Paul, Mary, and Peter.
A statue of Jupiter became a statue of Peter.
And we know that because it has a sun disk right over its head that indicates that this is not Peter, but it's a pagan statue that's been renamed.
The representations of Isis, which is originally an Egyptian goddess but has become very Greek already, becomes essentially the representation of Mary carrying her child.
You have a mother and child tradition all the way down through history. You have it in Mithraism, you have it in Babylon, you have it all the way back in Persia.
It appears that Mary acquired some of the characteristics that were associated with some of these other goddesses.
She wears a dark blue coat and she stands
That's
on the
set of
half
Isis.
moon. She is the mother of all gods. Isis carrying her son Horus. That is the image that gets a new name, and now the name is Mary carrying the child Jesus.
Or a depiction of the god Hermes. He is shown as Christ the Good Shepherd.
Soon the statues of the saints and even Jesus began adorning the churches. Even though God clearly forbids this practice in the Ten Commandments, people continue to revere and to pray to these
Incidentally,
relabeled idols.
That statue we just saw, they've had to rebuild that foot.
Thou shalt not make unto
I
thee
wanna say
any graven
multiple
image, or any
times.
likeness of
It's made of
anything that is in
brass.
heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them.
On the venerable day of the sun, let the magistrates and the people residing in cities rest, and let all workshops be closed. So there came a time when Christianity ended up adopting pagan rituals, period. And like he said, it just there came a point when the apostasy of the church just went, and it was so simple just to say, I don't want to Judaize anymore. Did you two have something? Yes. Yes. Yep. Perfect timing. This is the Council of Laodicea. Christians shall not Judaize and be idle on Saturday, but shall work on that day. But the Lord's day they shall especially honor. That's the Canon 29. For centuries, Christians' celebration of Easter, you brought this up, coincided exactly with the Passover. And their observances of the Sabbath continued to take place on Saturday. This is James Carl. The authority of the church could therefore not be bound to the authority of the scriptures because the church had changed the Sabbath into Sunday, not by command of Christ, but by its own authority. This is Canon and Tradition, page 263. Does anybody know what that's trying to say? Absolutely. Couldn't have said it much better myself. The church itself and its traditions will trump God every time. This is what the canon was saying.
We changed it, that's why.
Right. And the justification in this is saying we changed it, and therefore we changed it, and we have the power because we changed it. No one can change the laws of God. But we did change it. And that's their point. It's a circular reasoning, but it's still a justified reason because think about it. How many people are following them today? Daniel 7:25 says, shall intend, and I read this before, shall intend to change times and laws. A couple more slides here. Doctrine of Catechism says, question, have you any other way of proving that the church has power to institute festivals of precept? This is Stephen Keenan, the Doctrinal Catechism. Answer, had she not such power, she could not have done that in which all modern religionists agree with. She could not have substituted the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, for the observance of Saturday, the seventh day of the week, a change for which there is no scriptural evidence. They know. Unfortunately, most modern churches don't know. They don't know that God never changed it. God never changed it. They just don't know. Right. Right. And that's a really good point. Don't think I'm up here bashing them, because I know I have a lot of Catholic friends that they have no idea what their church teaches. Right?
When they start doing that, when they do, and that's when the Catholics stop being Catholic and they start going.
This is absolutely true. This is absolutely true. When you read your Bible, this incidentally ends up happening with Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons as well. They are not encouraged to read the Bible independently. You must read it in coincided with our literature, and the literature will explain the Bible. So the literature literally trumps Bible. Why can't you just read it? I was a 12-year-old reading it and I figured it out. But it wasn't until I was a full-blown adult when I could, do anything about it and really studied it out. Yeah.
They are not allowed to just take the word.
Yes. Yes.
They have to take the
There. Yes.
shapes and they have to decide
It's about man's tradition over God. Remember how I said this whole thing's about the Creator? That's what this is about. But it's very easy. Guess what happens when a church takes the day that God said, remember me as the Creator, and changed it? Now, where's the creative authority? Isaiah 58:13-14 says, if you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy day of the Lord honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own ways, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words, then you shall delight yourself in the Lord, and I will cause you to ride on the high hills of the earth and feed you with the heritage of Jacob, your father. The mouth of the Lord has spoken. Jesus says, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Remember, I said something in the very, very beginning of this. If you guys could start handing out a card, there's going to be a card coming around. Once again, because remember what I said about, and you brought this up, which is a great question. What about those who just don't know? Well, God does wink at those times of ignorance. But there's also something else. God also states that I have to put away childish things and grow up. I have to make a choice. When I studied the word, the first time I studied the Sabbath, I didn't know much about, I didn't know where else to go. My pastor dismissed it and just kind of shoved it aside. So I guess it's not relevant. He was my spiritual mentor at the time. He was the spiritual leader in my life. So of course I trusted him. But instead of me studying the Bible and coming to the conclusion myself, I had a choice to make. Unfortunately, at that time, I did not make the right one because I didn't study it back out. You have several choices now that if this is something new to you, and we'll go through these questions very, very quickly here. So the first one says, I have heard about the Sabbath or the seventh day Sabbath before. Go ahead and check yes or no if that applies to you. It is clear to me from the Bible that Saturday, the seventh day, is God's Sabbath. Pray for me. I am considering what this means for me. Absolutely. And the last one, say, I would like more information. And then put whatever information you have down there and your name. We want to be able to pray for anyone. Let me just give you a couple of stories here. When I was introduced to the Sabbath, I had a choice to make. I worked at a factory at the time. Okay, I worked on third shift. My overtime was Friday night. Friday night. That's when I had to do overtime. And so obviously that would easily slide right into the Sabbath day. I prayed to the Lord and I said, God, I'm not going to, and I am an overtime junkie. Just so you guys know, I do overtime. I'm one of those guys, I really have to be careful with it because I very easily, which by the way, do you know what busy means? Being under Satan's yoke. Thank you. I have to be careful about that all the time. I got to make sure that my busyness is glorifying God. My story is though, as I prayed, I said, God, I want to keep the Sabbath. I don't know how. And I have to tell my scheduler at work that I'm not going to come in on the Sabbath anymore. And so I spoke with her and I addressed her and she said, okay. That's it? Yeah, okay. I'll put you on a different overtime schedule. That's fine. We'll put you on Sunday night or we'll put you on late Saturday night, whatever. It's fine. You have no idea. I had all this prepared. I was ready to defend the word of God. Nope. Didn't need it. Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Sometimes. Most people do. And that was the ironic thing was at the factory that I work on, there was a lot of people that did want Sunday off. Well, Justin, absolutely. You could come in on Sunday, man. We need people then. Okay. But then I quit that factory. I ended up getting a different job. That one was very easy. I worked for a wonderful Christian man. It was Sunfrog Shirts, great company. Didn't even have to pray about it. Just say, hey, I don't work on the Sabbath, guys. I honor the Sabbath. I came back to the factory and they had to pull me aside and they said, well, Justin, da-da-da-da. And I said, psh. By that point, I knew the scriptures. I said, well, here in Exodus, it says this, here in Exodus, it keeps this, and I honor the Sabbath day. And I said, the Sabbath day is from this time to this time. So it's Friday and Saturday? No, it's from this time to this time. Sundown and this time, sundown and this time. Okay, so is it Fridays then? No, it's from, it was an interesting conversation. But nonetheless, God honored me for trying to do my best to honor him. And guess what? My wife and I have never been for want. Even if we lost that overtime, strange things would happen where people would say, hey, Justin, I need you to do something for me. I'll pay you $100. Out of nowhere. God will make a way. So please never fear about this. My biggest fear, honestly, is that people will leave here. You have a few choices here right now. You can accept, study more, or dismiss. Those are the three options. There's only two of them, though, that the Lord will work with you with. If you completely dismiss it outright, unfortunately, we're all going to be held accountable for the decisions we make. Come on up, John. I appreciate all of you, and I love this engagement. I love the fact that the Sabbath, I describe the Sabbath a lot of times to people like this. The Sabbath is, you know that feeling when you know it's Friday and you're working at work and it's Friday and you got that pep in your step? When you know it's Friday, when you're a Sabbath keeper, it's doubly that. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but it's like 2 Fridays melded into one because you know it's not just I get tomorrow off. It's I get tomorrow off and it's a special day with the Lord. I get the tomorrow off and it's like an open free vacation day. It's so strange